the residential areas, especially on East Delaware and all the streets east of Michigan Avenue. We've seen not only sometimes panhandling come up over there, but just late night gatherings, things like that we try to monitor and keep an eye on. But some of that is the residual effect of us pushing it off of Michigan Avenue. So we'll just keep pushing it along and monitoring it and trying to get it out of there as best we can.
Thanks, Commander. Is that a 311 or 911?
No, you can call 911 on that.
Thank you. We can have Daniel start making his way down. Daniel? No last name? I see.
Thank you, folks. I have my top 15 takeovers, and I don't mean that confined to residential. I also include retail, commercial. What is the likelihood, risk, what is the likelihood of future such events affecting Streeterville? And what will happen to the folks involved?
So I can't say what the likelihood is. I mean, there's always a possibility that something like that could happen. We have had, what we do as a police department is we monitor social media, okay? So we have a unit that monitors all the different social media posts that go out on Instagram, Facebook, and whatnot, looking for things that are advertising not only teen takeovers, car takeovers, any type of illegal activity, different parties or after concert parties that happen at different venues across the city. They'll pick up on that and they'll send that out to the districts, and then they'll assign police resources to it, okay? When we get intel about possible teen takeovers, whether it's in Streeterville or right now the most common locations have been on the lakefront, the department deploys additional resources there, tactical teams from across the city. For North Avenue Beach, Oak Street Beach, we'll post the police officers in different locations, put in place different bag checks, so people who are coming onto the lakefront, bags, coolers, whatnot, they're subject to inspection by police. This usually tends to push away criminal activity. If they know that we're out there and we're present, they tend to not try to come on the lakefront. At times we have made arrests because people have been trying to come through with firearms, okay? When we have them on the lakefront, we'll monitor the activity. Any illegal activity we address. Not only when we're checking the bags, but as of late when we've had them coming out there, we've taken away speakers because that just contributes to the disorder and the chaos that's going on with it. We received intel last weekend of a possible teen takeover for near the AMC Theater by the arcade. When we get a venue like that, we talk to the venue, make them aware of it, find out if they have anything going on that's going to be attracting a group like this to come down. Is there some type of a party that somebody's having? They will put on extra security. They, like the AMC and the arcade there, they have a youth escort policy that they've put in place because of past issues that they've had, where if you're not with a parent or someone over 21, you can't come into the establishment. After 9 p.m., they're not letting anyone in who's not over 21, whether they're with a parent or any other guardian, they're not coming in. Again, we deploy extra police, we post them around the area, we have a heavy presence right off the bat to discourage anybody from arriving down here to engage in that behavior. This past weekend when we had the intel for it, I had extra teams out there, I was out there. We seen a few different groups show up periodically, but after they saw the police presence, they left the area. So our response works when we know about it. Unfortunately, there are times when we don't know something's gonna happen and then we're just kind of playing catch up. But we're gonna address it, we're gonna address illegal activity. Standing on sidewalks not illegal, okay? Sitting in a group in front of Walgreens is not illegal, okay? Jumping on cars, that's a different story. Fighting, that's a different story, okay? And then we'll take the necessary action.
Thanks, Commander. Donna Rockin, if you want to start making your way down. Donna?
You know what? We'll read it for me. I just got ready when you came.
I'm here for you. Got it.
What self-defense mechanism or preventative measures do you recommend we take if we are actually caught in the middle of the violence or the crime being committed?
What preventive measures should citizens take to prevent being victims of crime, basically?
Yeah, well, what self-defense mechanism?
Yeah,
If we're in the middle of the fight.
If you're walking down the street and pop-up teen gathering or event happens, What's your suggestion, or anyone else on that?
Well, I think to prevent being a victim of crime, the best thing you can do is always be aware of your surroundings, okay? Too often, you'll see everybody doing it. They're walking, they're looking at their phones, they're not paying attention, okay? You make yourself easy to be a victim. Somebody's gonna be able to come up, they're gonna be able to snatch your phone, they might be able to come up and, strike you and rob you. So being aware of your surroundings, that's first and foremost, all right? Always being alert. If you see something and you don't feel comfortable, that's usually a good indication that something's not right. You should trust your instincts. If you don't feel comfortable around something, then there's a good indication that something's wrong. And you shouldn't be worried about offending anybody or being misconstrued. You should look out for your own well-being, your own safety. As far as like where your residences are and things like that, it's always good to have ample lighting on the exterior of your buildings. Security cameras are a huge asset to prevent, to monitor what's going on. If you find yourself involved with like a teen gathering, like you're saying, I mean, your best thing is to just avoid it, okay? If you're coming down the street and we're dealing with that, you need to find a new way to go. I mean, that's the best advice I can give you at that point with that. I don't know if any of my retired members could comment further on this.
Yeah, just to piggyback off the commander, if you do find yourself being the victim of a crime, it's very important to follow through. As my colleague Brad down there could probably tell you, you are the victim of a crime. You have to demand action from the state's attorney and hold people accountable. Way too often, as the sheriff said, people fall through the cracks and miss court dates, and gives judges and defense attorneys an opportunity to throw out that case and not hold people accountable. So, and being aware of your surroundings, stepping into a place that has security to protect yourself, arming yourself with some self-defense classes and some items such as pepper spray. It gives you an opportunity to get some distance between the offender and yourself and get away. But the most important thing is to avoid those teen trends when you see them forming, and pay attention to the newsletter that Sergeant Schenk hands out in the 18th District, which identifies when those teen trends are coming. We're lucky at Navy Pier. We have the parental escort policy, and when these teen trends pop up, we put all our security up front, and we turn away a lot of kids that are unsupervised, that have backpacks. And these have resulted in murders of young kids, and we won't tolerate that at Navy Pier.
I would also mention that if you find yourself in a situation where you have to use self-defense, your life isn't worth the valuables that you're carrying as well. Whether it's your car, your cell phone, your wallet, that's all replaceable. Your life isn't. So you can try using those self-defense mechanisms, but if you're in a situation where you feel like your life is at risk, give up your valuables and then report it to CPD. And that sounds like a tough thing to do because everybody wants to get a concealed carry, everybody wants to have a self-defense class. Your life isn't worth it. And when you find yourself outnumbered, generally they just want your items and they're gonna leave you alone. But if you start to put up a fight, you could be a victim.
I think it's been said already, but the most important thing is to get yourself out of harm's way, number one, and dial 911. Don't rely on somebody else in a high rise to say, I'm looking out of the window, I can see what's going on. You dial as well. The more calls that come in, it prioritizes that call and it goes to the top. So we can get 100 calls, we can get 1,000 calls. That means it's getting the attention of someone. So everyone dial the 911. Most important thing.
Thanks, Quinn. Donna, I'll get to your question in a second. We had one right before yours. Steve, can you elaborate on the scope of your services your team provides for Northwestern? Just give everybody an understanding.
Sure. So we partnered with Northwestern Hospital about 2.5 years ago, and that initially started with us providing off-duty retired police officers in the emergency room. Hopefully, many of you haven't had to come to our emergency room, but we provide weapons detection, and the folks that are helping provide security in the emergency room are not only looking at the weapons detection system, but they're armed off-duty and retired police officers. Some of these folks have been retired, anywhere from a patrolman to former chiefs of police. Since then, it's evolved tremendously. So right after we started that program, we started a patrol program here for the streets that I mentioned. So we're patrolling 24 hours, 7 days a week. For anybody that's familiar, We're patrolling the streets of Huron, Superior, Erie, Columbus, and North St. Clair. You're probably wondering why we're not patrolling Michigan Avenue. It's because Northwestern is funding this predominantly, and they're not on Michigan Avenue, and there's a heavy presence with CPD and the Sheriff's Department. So this program, again, it's evolved tremendously. We're using real crime data that's provided publicly by CPD that allows us to know when we should be patrolling based on the types of crimes. But to answer your question, we have 5 off-duty and retired police officers here, 24 hours, 7 days a week. 3 of them are in the emergency room at all times. The other 2 are in our patrol cars.
Okay, make one comment. One thing that I think most folks in this room can tell, I mean, P4 has been a wonderful partner. There's a lot of private security in the area. Whether you're at a bank or whether you're at a drugstore or at a business, it is very important to understand each of those security officers might have a different purpose for being there. And then you ask management, what's the purpose of the security officer? Are they keeping the store safe? Are they keeping you safe? Are they keeping the front door safe? It's a great question for P4 as they do patrol, but also as you come across hundreds of private security officers in this neighborhood, get to know what everyone does.
Yeah, so our patrol cars are actually being monitored 24 hours, 7 days a week by our command center. We have a command center at headquarters in Downers Grove. All of our cars have inward and outward facing cameras. They're talking to our dispatchers out of our command center as well, and also in some cases we're listening to the CPD's feed. So we're not responding to CPD on that radio, but we're actively listening so we know where to send resources. So just for clarification, even though these are active and retired off-duty police officers, they are working in a security capacity. So we're not there to replace the police by any means. We're not there to put handcuffs on anybody. I know that's tough to understand. That's still the sole purpose of CPD and the sheriff and whatever law enforcement's present at that time. So what we're doing essentially is acting as a set of eyes and ears. And when an off-duty police officer, a retired police officer is calling in to CPD or calling into OEMC and essentially stating that they're an off-duty retired police officer and they get a verified judgment call on the crime that's in progress, you should hear some of these calls. They're very calm, cool, collected, but we're getting correct information to 911 in real time, and the response time has been excellent. And it's been a great partnership, I would say, with law enforcement here.
And are you tapped into the blue light kiosks that are around, or?
No, we're not tapped into that. So that actually goes to still the law enforcement here. So there's a few different entities here at Northwestern. You have an in-house security program. You have another security company that's providing unarmed security, and then we would consider ourselves that the top tier where all of our folks are armed and they're retired off duty. And the reason why is if they ever have to meet force with force, they have that opportunity. I'm proud to say though, in the 11 years that we've been in business, we have over 150 years amongst our leadership team. None of our officers ever had to discharge a weapon, and that's because of the training that they have on the law enforcement side.
Love it, thank you for that. Donna, I'm gonna read your question now. Can you raise your hand so we know? There you are. What is the status, and actually this looks more of a potential alderman question, but what's the status of the ordinance you're referring to, the SNAP curfew, to prevent to thwart the raves by the teens? And the alderman, neither one is up here, but does anyone want to take any comments or thoughts on the SNAP curfew? The status maybe? You don't necessarily have to have an opinion, but just give them an idea of where we are with it.
I have limited updates. Otherwise, my understanding was it was going to go back up, but that there was an understanding it would be defeated, on it. And so I do think it's a good question for the alderman to answer. But we are fortunate to have aldermen that are fighting on behalf of the SNAP curfew.
So it was vetoed, I guess, the end result. Thank you. Gwen, come on down. No. As the Safety and Security Advisor for the Magma Association, you've seen quite a bit over the years and how Michigan Avenue has changed. Can you tell us the current status of Michigan Avenue, be it retail theft or back to the number of visitors? Are we back pre-COVID days? Like, do you have any thoughts on where we are right now?
back up to the Lights Festival. If some of you attended and some of you didn't. Hosted over 1 million people on the Mag Mile, and that's a large number. That means that Chicago is being revitalized, not only by the Lights Festival, but everything else that is taking place on the Mag Miles. We have new stores opening. I think over the next 4 months, we have 6 new stores opening up on the Mag Mile. I'm not at liberty to give you the names of those stores, but we have 6 new stores opening. And the way I judge the amount of traffic that we see, or that you see on Michigan Avenue, here's my key. My key is when I see a line wrapped around Starbucks Roastery. We got a lot of people in this city in downtown on Michigan Avenue. The other key is when Harry Potter opened. Harry Potter is doing a phenomenal job with getting people in and out of there, visitors, tourists, families, field trips. They're doing it all. They have 2 floors. The basement floor is full of merchandise. If you've been in the store, the width and the length of the upstairs is also downstairs filled with merchandise. So they're going through at least $1.5 million of merchandise in about 2 days. So it's a large number of merchandise, and it's a large number of people being moved in and out of there. And then you can look at the Ralph Lauren's coffee shop. When you see a line wrapped around, I get coffee is the thing to be into right now. So when you see lines wrapped around there and people are walking up and down Michigan Avenue, enjoying themselves, I call it now bags in hands. Whenever I see bags in hands, I know the cash registers have been rung and the merchants are making money. And it's a good sight. And most of you lived down here for the last 20 and 30 years, but you can go back to the 1980s and the 1990s when daily traffic downtown was elbow to elbow. You're not gonna see that anymore because of the things that have changed over the years. You had COVID come in and just knock everything out. Businesses are now allowing their employees to work from home. That was half of your foot traffic downtown when your employees came down to work. And after work, what do? They shop. We're not going to see that, so we're going to make use of what we're seeing now and preserve, promote, and protect what we're seeing here.
Thank you. And at one point, there was quite a bit of smash and grabs, even vehicles that were driving into buildings. Did we see that taper off? Are you seeing that kind of the same, or has anything been implemented, do you know of?
It has tapered off, and when I first started here in the Mag Mile last February of 2024, I had to go into Neiman Marcus and speak with the loss prevention team to ask them how things were going with them. The number of shoplifters they were encountering on a daily or weekly basis, and they just happened to show me some footage. Actually, it was in the newspaper when a car tried to ram the front of Neiman Marcus off to Michigan Avenue at the Superior side. A couple of attempts, they rammed the car into Michigan Avenue doors and they couldn't get in. They showed me the footage, and as I'm walking out of Neiman Marcus, all of a sudden I see 3 cars pull up. I'm like, something's not right. My antennas went up. And 3 cars, 6 gentlemen jumped out of the car, and I watched them walk into Neiman Marcus, and I whispered to one, I said, you might not want to do that. And they just looked at me like, who are you? But they soon found out because the loss prevention team was monitoring the cameras from their office, and they had 2 armed guards right at the door of Michigan Avenue, and they all ran out of the store and jumped back into their cars, almost leaving one behind because the door was still swung open and were trying to get in the car as it was pulling out. That same night, they went over to Yves Saint Laurent, trying to do the same thing, the same crew. This time they were armed. The doors were locked at Yves Saint Laurent, so they could not get in. So it was another thwarted theft attempt on both of those crews. And most folks, so that you know that the cars that are being utilized, 99% of the time they're stolen. And we have all these split readers on Michigan Avenue and throughout the Mag Mile. to help us capture some of these individuals. I guess I could talk about this the other day, Louis Vuitton, for instance. You want to give us an update on that?
Yeah, so like Glenn was saying, overall you've seen like these organized retail thefts drop off. We still have incidents that happen. Last week in Louis Vuitton, there was a group that went in. It was about a group of about 12 that ran in there at the same time, grabbed a number of items, ran out, jumped in vehicles, took off. We were able to track the cars. The one vehicle crashed out off the Dan Ryan by, I think like 63rd Street. There was an offender taken into custody. Several of the items were recovered from the vehicle. Several of the cell phones that belonged to other offenders involved in the case were recovered, and it's still an active investigation, but I have a feeling that most of them are going to be taken into custody.
Excellent. Sheriff Dart, you have a presence, your team has a presence also on Michigan Avenue and throughout Streeterville. Can you talk a little bit about, specifically what they're doing and what they've seen from a crime perspective?
Sure. Tying in what was just talked about now, so many of the vehicles that are used in these different crimes are ones that are stolen and carjacked. And carjacking rightfully was on everyone's lips for quite a while because it was so out of control. 3 years ago, we not just led the country in carjackings, but if you took LA, New York, and there was one other, I think Washington DC, and added them all together, we still had more carjackings than they did. And through the work with ourselves, Chicago Police Department, the FBI, those numbers have dropped precipitously. But it wasn't by accident. I mean, we all put our heads together and put a lot of time and resources in it. Chicago now has 2 or 3 new helicopters. We have a helicopter coming within 2 weeks. And I'm not much into the, every toy can solve the problem. It's frequently it has nothing to do with it. These are game changers though, because for a lot of really good reasons, all of us have pursuit policies that prohibit us from chasing people. In certain respects, we all chase people, don't get me wrong, but there's certain reasons where we'll call it off. And the helicopters, though, are just such game changers. They're amazing, absolutely amazing. And I've been out with our folks numerous times when we're doing carjacking missions, and I cannot emphasize enough to you, it is incredible. I mean, in the partnership, as I said, with CPD and FBI and those folks has been just great. When your aldermen have been fantastic. It was mentioned the 2 aldermen in this area are amazing to work with, and they're really big on license plate readers, and those things are so helpful. So when the car is carjacked or stolen, when it hits one of those LPRs, then it goes to all of us. And that then, working with the helicopters, immediately identifies where this is at. And so there's no need for high-speed pursuits because it's more a question of who's in the area to pull this person over and get them. And the amount of arrests have gone through the roof. The number of carjackings has dropped, and I don't have that hard number with me now, but it's dropped through the floor. But just in this area alone, just in this immediate area that we're talking about, there have been 85 cars that were stolen that were recovered almost immediately that were carjacked because of all this partnership and the work on this. And those are, I can't say enough to you, it was just referenced on the commander. It's not just the victim of that carjacking, it's horrific, and all of us have seen different videos of just what these poor people have gone through. But those cars almost always are being carjacked for the purpose of another violent offense. And it makes complete sense. So when we're not only catching them, but catching them quickly, it's a game changer. And the helicopters are absolutely amazing with the work that they do. And it was just reminding me, I had to go in front of the county board today for something which was wildly pleasant. So we have, between CPD and myself, I think we're gonna end up with 4 helicopters or 5, something like that. LA County, I think, has 40-some helicopters. Houston, Harris County, I think, has 20-some. And I'm trying to think of the other jurisdiction that has just so many more than us. So that when, thankfully, as I say, your aldermen are fantastic. When they're pushing for these type of resources for the police department, and when we're pushing for it at our end too, we are so far behind the curve on this stuff, folks. So lest anyone thinks this is so that we all get new toys. It's not that. It's like those things are absolutely game changers. And so collectively working together, that issue, we still have a lot of room to work with here. Don't get me wrong, but the numbers are actually absolutely stunning how much they've dropped, and it was because of this. It helped too, frankly, with the attention that was rightfully given to the Kia and Hyundai issues where they had a flaw in their design, so that it was one of the most viewed TikTok was how to steal a Kia in less than 30 seconds. And it was outrageous. I mean, they were showing you how to do it. And so that really hurt all of us because the number of stolen cars then were going through the roof. So in addition to carjacking, just the straight stealing of cars was going through the roof. Those cars were then being used for other crimes as well. And as I can tell you from my old days as being a state's attorney many years ago, it really gets tricky when the car is not really connected to the bad guy, because it's not his car, it's not his brother's car, it's not his cousin's car, it's a car he just grabbed from somebody. So the fact that all those things collectively have gotten better have helped a great deal, and throughout the nation there's been a steep decline in crimes across the board, and as there has been here. So there's a lot to do, but a lot of stuff is going in the right direction, folks, and it's because a lot of the collaboration that we all do together.
Thank you. All right, my good friend Tom Economy, are you here? Hey, Tom. Do you want to come down and read it? You want me to read it for you?
Please, you could read it.
I knew it. I led the witness on that one. I led the witness. Tom writes, Boston has reduced their violent crime by 63%. And this is, I'll let everyone can chime in on this. The theme of the question is, what best practices do you guys learn to bring back? I mean, you mentioned 20 helicopters in Houston, 40. I mean, that's financial, but do you guys go to other communities, other cities, states to see what's working there to bring back to Chicago? Did I get that right, Tom?
Yes, especially Boston.
Boston, with the reduction of 63%? Yeah, what are they doing there?
I'm not quite sure what Boston's doing, but we'll definitely be looking at it tomorrow.
Way to go, Tom, way to go.
I will tell you though, that the trends I alluded to, the trends across the country have all been dropping. In all, whether it's people within the law enforcement community or the great minds of our institutions, our universities, people have a lot of different theories. No one's said this is the one or this is the one. There's a collective sort of agreement that there was some horrific magic with COVID that made it particularly worse. But as far as like one or two things, there hasn't really been that. There's been a lot of sustained effort with people on a lot of different levels. People will talk about violence interrupters. In some cities they work really well, they show drops, other ones not as much drops. I think there's just this collective understanding that all of these different things have a place. And much to all of our frustrations, there is no one secret. So I'd be really curious, seriously, to look at Boston and see if they had a couple unique things they did. But at the end of the day, there is unmistakable numbers nationally showing these drops. So we're all pretty much benefiting. There's a couple of outliers. There's a handful of cities, I think. I'm trying to think of what it was. I think it's either Philly or one of those that is not dropping. Yeah. So there's a couple of outliers, but most of them are going down, and there's no one specific reason that people are attaching to that. All of us are still dealing with the issues too. I know Chicago, myself, we still are having some difficulties hiring police officers, so that's another residual thing that we have to deal with as a result of that. Both of our overtimes are high because we don't have enough people. So we're still combating some of the residual effects from both COVID and then the civil unrest after George Floyd's murder. Those things are still lingering, but as far as the decrease, there's a myriad of reasons. No one's latched onto one, and we haven't seen one either. I wish it was easy. I wish it was like that. In my experience, experience too, I've been doing this political thing for a year or two. My experience is most politicians, if it's out there and it's relatively easy, boy, they're gonna grab it because they can't wait to tell everybody that they were the ones behind this great new thing. So it seems to be in the real world, it's these more nuanced things that collectively help. And so whether it's the policing component, whether it's dealing with the homeless populations, the mentally ill populations on the street, collectively all those things come together and help. But it was referenced earlier. I can't say enough to you, the one component that has to be there, it has to be community engagement. So whether it's coming to meetings like this, interacting with the police department, feeling free to call when you have issues, but certainly if you are either a witness or a victim of crime, to be engaged, making sure that you're there for the court system. I can imagine the commander will, say the exact same thing I am. It's stunning, stunning, stunning how many people get shot who will not cooperate in any form. And so that then leads to this cycle of violence, of people going after people. And it just never was like that. When I was a prosecutor a million years ago, that was not the case. People would testify, some of them weren't as happy as others, but they would testify. Nowadays, that is the absolute norm, that you have no witnesses. And so the state's attorney's office